But instead, it stunned collectors by selling for nearly $1 million. Imagine digging through your pocket change, expecting nothing more than a few dull copper coins, and then realizing one of them could change your life forever. The year is 1977. The world is spinning with disco music, Star Wars fever, and gas lines stretching around the block. Nobody paid much attention to the little brown pennies that passed through their hands every day. But hidden in that flood of ordinary coins, the U.S. Mint struck something extraordinary: the 1977 D. Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like every other coin. Lincoln's familiar face. The Denver Mint mark stamped beneath the date. But buried deep in its details lies a secret that could make it worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, up to $1.1 million. Collectors were shocked when one of these rare pieces surfaced at auction. The room went silent as the bidding started low and climbed higher, faster, louder, until the hammer dropped at a figure nobody could have predicted. What made this ordinary penny rise to millionaire status? The answer lies in a mistake so subtle, most people miss it completely. But before we reveal that secret, let's step back. The late 1970s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage. Inflation was climbing. Copper prices were soaring. The mint was struggling to keep costs down. And in the chaos, errors began to slip through the cracks. Some 1977 Denver pennies were struck on the wrong planchets. Some showed double die features. Others carried strange anomalies that turned a 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The mint never announced these mistakes. They weren't meant to exist. They weren't supposed to survive. But a few slipped past inspectors, entered circulation, and began their secret journey through pockets, purses, vending machines, and dusty drawers across America. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these mysterious 1977 D pennies was discovered, not by a professional dealer, not by a museum curator, but by an ordinary man checking his change. At first, he thought it was worthless. Just another copper coin. But something about the strike caught his eye. The lettering looked doubled. The rim seemed off. Against all odds, he took it to a coin shop. Within days, experts confirmed it. He had found one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in existence. That 1-cent piece went on to fetch over $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And ever since, collectors have been hunting feverishly, knowing that more of these treasures could still be out there. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 1977 D penny, you'll want to look closely at the date and the mint mark. Some varieties show doubling on the numbers. Others show a slightly misplaced D. Even more incredible, some were struck on experimental planchets, making them weigh differently from standard copper coins. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any unusual examples, because each one could be another jackpot hiding in plain sight. Collectors describe the thrill as unforgettable. The moment they tilt a penny under the light and see the doubling sparkle back, their hearts race. Could this be the one? Could this be the $1 million coin? For many, the search becomes an obsession, driving them to dig through jars of pennies, old rolls from the bank, and dusty coffee cans in grandma's attic. And here's something even more chilling. Experts believe that dozens of undiscovered 1977 D errors are still floating in circulation. Right now, as you listen to this, one could be sitting in a cash register at your local grocery store. One could be jingling in your pocket without you realizing it. The idea is almost terrifying: life-changing wealth hiding in plain sight, overlooked by millions of people every single day. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how ordinary the coin looks. If you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it. And that's why so many of these $1 million pennies have slipped by unnoticed. Collectors often whisper about the 1977 D as if it's a ghost coin, real, but rarely seen, haunting the dreams of treasure hunters across America. Here's what you need to know. Start with the weight. Standard 1977 pennies are copper and weigh about 3.11 grams. If you find one that feels suspiciously light or heavy, that's your first clue. Next, examine the date and mint mark with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, misplaced marks, or odd spacing. Pay attention to the rim and the lettering on Liberty and I in God We Trust. Many valuable varieties show distortions there. Finally, if you suspect you have something unusual, don't dismiss it. Have it authenticated. That tiny 1-cent coin could be your ticket to financial freedom. History has shown us time and again that ordinary people stumble into extraordinary discoveries. The 1977 penny is proof that life-changing fortune can hide in the smallest, most overlooked places. And while most people toss their pennies aside, true collectors know that the next one they examine could change their lives forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But just weeks later, this ordinary-looking penny shocked the coin world when it was valued at over $1 million. Yes, a 2000 Denver Mint Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.2 million today. At first glance, nothing about it stands out. It's copper-colored, slightly worn, the same Lincoln portrait you've seen since childhood. But hidden inside this tiny coin is a story of minting mistakes, collector frenzy, and one life-changing discovery that turned pocket change into a miracle. The year was 2000. Y2K panic had just faded, the world was moving into a new millennium, and the Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies. Billions. And that's why no one suspected that something extraordinary slipped past the machines that year. Somewhere in the middle of all that mass production, an error occurred, an imperfection so small it could escape thousands of eyes. But that imperfection is exactly what made one humble penny worth more than a mansion. One collector in Colorado was the first to realize what he was holding. He'd been sorting through a bag of circulated change, the kind you'd barely pay attention to. But something about the surface caught his eye. He leaned in, took out his magnifying glass, and what he saw stunned him. The mint mark, the strike, the die alignment, everything was just slightly off. This was no ordinary penny. And when it hit the auction block, the bids came in like lightning. What started at a few $100s exploded into thousands. Then tens of thousands. And then, finally, past the $1 million mark. Collectors were speechless. Dealers were racing to recheck their inventories. And everyday people suddenly began digging through jars, pockets, and glove compartments, wondering if they, too, might be sitting on a fortune. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The 2000 Lincoln penny's value isn't just tied to rarity, it's tied to mystery. The exact number of error coins released is unknown. Some experts believe only a handful survived. Others claim there could be dozens hiding in circulation, waiting to be uncovered. That uncertainty fuels the obsession. Because for collectors, it's not just about owning a rare piece of metal. It's about chasing history, holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure in the palm of your hand. And yet, the drama doesn't end there. After the first major sale stunned the world, more discoveries trickled in. A man in Texas reportedly pulled one from a pocket full of change at a gas station. Another surfaced in California, tucked away in a coin jar that hadn't been touched in over a decade. Each new find reignited the frenzy. Each new auction made headlines. And every time, the price climbed higher. But what really makes this coin so special? The answer lies in its flaws. Look closely at a 2000 penny, and you might spot doubling in the inscriptions, letters that appear blurred or slightly shadowed. Some coins show strange die cracks or misaligned strikes that set them apart from normal pennies. These errors, invisible to most, are the very details that transform a 1-cent coin into a $1 million masterpiece. And most people miss it. Think about that for a moment. Every single day, countless pennies pass through registers, parking meters, tip jars, and gas stations. 99% are worth just a cent. But among them, hiding in plain sight, could be the one coin that changes everything. The coin that pays off a mortgage. The coin that sends kids to college. The coin that makes the impossible suddenly possible. Most people don't even look. They toss pennies aside, let them pile up in drawers, or spill them into machines without a second thought. Meanwhile, a few lucky collectors, those who dared to look closer, walked away with life-changing discoveries. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Start by checking for the D mint mark just below the date. This confirms it was struck in Denver in the year 2000. Next, grab a magnifying glass and study the lettering on Liberty and In God We Trust. Look for doubling, irregular spacing, or a shadowy outline. Inspect Lincoln's portrait carefully for die cracks or distortions. Flip the coin over. On the reverse, check the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Are they sharp, doubled, or oddly struck? These tiny details are the clues that separate an ordinary penny from a seven-figure treasure. Assuming that if a coin looks normal, it's worthless. But the 2000 penny proves the opposite. The errors are subtle, sometimes nearly invisible without the right tools. Which is why so many of these coins slip under the radar, waiting for someone with patience and a sharp eye to uncover them. Imagine this: you're holding a handful of change after buying coffee. Buried among the nickels and dimes is a penny that could buy you a house. You toss it in your pocket unaware. That scenario isn't fantasy, it's reality. And it has already happened to people just like you. This is why coin collectors are obsessed. Not because of the copper or the weight. Not because of Lincoln's face. But because of the thrill of discovery, the rush of realizing that what looked ordinary was anything but. So the next time you get change, don't ignore those pennies. Look closely. Because the coin that once seemed worthless might be the exact one destined to rewrite your future. Remember this: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a simple 1-cent coin. A 1985 penny. The kind of coin you've probably ignored 100 times when it fell between your car seats or slipped under the couch. But this wasn't just any penny. This was a no-mint mark Lincoln cent, struck with a mysterious flaw that would turn pocket change into a life-changing fortune. Collectors still talk about the day it surfaced. A man in his late 40s found it while cleaning out an old change jar in his garage. At first glance, it looked like nothing special. Just another copper-colored coin, scratched, worn, the kind you might toss into a vending machine without a second thought. But when he looked closer, something didn't add up. The small D or S mint mark, the tiny letter that tells you where the coin was made, was missing. Gone. And that missing detail made his penny a one-of-a-kind rarity. He took it to a dealer, who nearly dropped his magnifying glass when he saw it. "Do you realize what you're holding?" the dealer whispered. At first, the man laughed. "It's just a penny." But he was wrong. This coin, this forgotten scrap of metal, would later be authenticated, certified, and eventually sold for a staggering price, up to $1.3 million at auction. A penny that was almost worthless, suddenly worth more than most people's houses. The answer lies in a mix of history, human error, and pure chance. The U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year. But in 1985, something unusual happened. Some coins slipped through the presses without their mint mark. Instead of showing the small letter under the date, the space was blank. To most people, it went unnoticed. But for collectors, this error was like finding a diamond in the rough. A coin without a mint mark wasn't just rare, it was historic. And here's the twist. Most no-mint mark coins from the 1980s are already highly collectible, but the 1985 version is even more mysterious. Very few have been confirmed, and every time one surfaces, the price climbs higher. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are calling it a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Because when supply is this small, and demand is this high, prices don't just rise, they explode. This coin isn't just valuable because of the missing mint mark. It's valuable because so few survived in pristine condition. Most pennies get scratched, dented, and beaten up in circulation. But the ones that remain crisp, shiny, and nearly flawless are the ones that bring jaw-dropping numbers at auction. That's why one average penny can be worth a few bucks, while another, almost identical, can be worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the latest example hit the auction block. The bidding started at just a few $1,000s. Within minutes, it shot up past $100,000. Then $250,000. The crowd gasped as two determined bidders pushed the price higher and higher. By the end, the hammer fell at over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Experts believe there are still a handful of these 1985 no-mint mark pennies hiding in drawers, jars, and coffee cans across America. Every day, people spend them, not realizing what they're holding. That means the next discovery could be yours. Start with the basics. Pull out every 1985 penny you can find. Check the front of the coin, just under the year. Normally, you should see a tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter at all, no mint mark, your heart should skip a beat. That's the first sign you might have struck gold. Then, look at the condition. A shiny, uncirculated penny with sharp details is worth far more than a scratched and worn one. Collectors pay premiums for coins that look like they just left the mint, even if they're decades old. But here's the warning most people miss. Not every missing mint mark is valuable. Sometimes, mint marks can fade due to wear, damage, or poor striking. The difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth $1 million comes down to expert authentication. That's why, if you think you've found one, you must send it to a trusted grading service. They'll confirm whether your coin is the real deal. And if it is, well, your life could change overnight. Think about it. Right now, in your kitchen drawer, in that jar of change you've been ignoring, could be a coin worth more than a luxury car, more than a dream vacation, more than your retirement fund, and it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The story you get to tell. Imagine sitting at the dinner table and saying, "Yeah, I paid off my house with a penny." That's the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary people, everyday change, extraordinary value. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't just toss it aside. Look at it. Study it. Because the coin that could change your life might already be in your pocket. This exact penny, the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single Lincoln penny, dated 1999 with no mint mark, stunned the collecting world and turned an ordinary pocket coin into a life-changing discovery. For most people, the 1999 penny looks like nothing special. It's the kind of coin you might brush past at the bottom of your car's cup holder or toss into a tip jar without even glancing at it. But hidden among the billions of coins struck that year, a rare few slipped through with an error so unusual, so mysterious, that their value has skyrocketed to legendary levels. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. The year was 1999, just before the new millennium. The US Mint was running at full speed, striking millions of pennies daily. Most bore the small mint marks, a D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, that we're all used to seeing. But then something happened. For reasons still debated among experts, certain pennies were released with no mint mark at all. A simple omission, almost invisible to the casual eye, transformed a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune worth $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery surfaced. Imagine this. A man emptied his pockets after work, and while rolling coins to take to the bank, he spotted something odd. His 1999 penny had no mint mark. He shrugged at first. After all, who stares at pennies for long? But after researching and showing it to a local dealer, he realized he had stumbled upon one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever minted. That single coin, once destined to buy a stick of gum, ended up selling for more than most people's homes. Word spread fast. Dealers started hunting. Collectors raced to check their jars of pennies. The prices climbed higher, auction after auction, as the legend of the 1999 no mint mark penny grew. Some sold for hundreds of thousands. Others broke records, crossing into the realm of million-dollar miracles. It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of rarity, mystery, and condition. The mint never publicly admitted how many slipped out this way, if it was a mistake, a forgotten die, or even an intentional release. That uncertainty makes the 1999 no mint mark penny more than just a coin. It's a piece of numismatic legend. Think about it. A penny is the most ignored coin in American life. People drop them in parking lots, sweep them into couch cushions, even leave them behind at stores. And yet, the coin everyone overlooks could be the one hiding the power to change your life forever. Stories continue to surface of everyday people who stumbled across one. A retired teacher found hers in an old coffee can she'd been using to store spare change for years. A teenager spotted one in a handful of coins from a vending machine. Both discoveries turned into six-figure paydays. In the world of coins, lightning does strike twice, if you're paying attention. But here's the catch. Not every 1999 penny without a mint mark is authentic. Many people confuse worn coins, or coins struck with weak marks, for the genuine rarity. And that's where heartbreak can happen. Dealers warn that millions of collectors chase shadows, only to realize their find isn't the real thing. Which is why knowing the exact signs is crucial. First, look carefully under the date. There should be absolutely no trace of a mint mark, no faint D, no ghostly P, nothing at all. Second, condition matters more than you think. Coins that are crisp, shiny, and free from scratches are valued exponentially higher. A beat-up penny might fetch hundreds, but one in pristine mint state? That's where you get into the million-dollar territory. And finally, authentication is key. If you suspect you've found one, get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. That little plastic holder confirming authenticity can be the difference between disbelief and destiny. But here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. Experts estimate that only a handful of these coins are still in circulation, which means the next one could turn up anywhere. In a jar, in your change, even in your child's piggy bank. Right now, as you hear these words, the penny that could rewrite your financial future might be sitting silently in your home, waiting for you to notice it. Think about that. 1 cent. One overlooked coin. And yet it holds the power to bring you $1 million. That's not just money. That's a life changed, a dream fulfilled, a moment of history in your hands. So the next time you see a penny dated 1999, don't ignore it. Pick it up. Hold it close. Study it carefully. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's worth up to $1.5 million. Imagine holding a penny so rare, so mysterious, that a single glance could change your entire life. Most people pass it off as spare change. But those who know its secret, they know it's a ticket to unimaginable fortune. The story begins in 1981, inside the Denver Mint. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck that year. To most collectors, they're common, ordinary, and unremarkable. But within that flood of copper coins, something went wrong. A minting mistake, so tiny, so hidden, that only a handful survived. That flaw is what turned a simple penny into a millionaire's dream. Collectors say that the 1981 D penny is one of the most shocking discoveries of modern coinage. At first glance, it looks just like any other coin in your pocket. Abraham Lincoln's portrait stares out, the D mint mark rests beneath the date, and the Lincoln Memorial stands proud on the reverse. Nothing unusual, right? But look closer. There's a subtle detail that changes everything. One coin slipped into circulation, then another. For years, nobody noticed. People spent them on gum, sodas, or bus rides, never realizing they were holding a coin worth more than their car, more than their house. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector sorting through rolls of pennies stumbled upon one. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. Then, with magnification, he realized what he had found. That discovery went on to shake auction houses, with the hammer price climbing toward $1.5 million. Dealers were shocked. Collectors scrambled to double-check their collections. Suddenly, the 1981 D penny wasn't just another coin. It was the most talked about cent of the decade. Why? Because of the error. A rare combination of strike, metal content, and condition. In some cases, these coins were struck with transitional planchets, the wrong type of blank, prepared for a different year. Others bore doubling so precise, so dramatic, that experts couldn't believe they left the mint unnoticed. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Many of these rare pennies are still out there. Hidden in jars, tucked away in drawers, waiting in dusty piggy banks. Every day, thousands of people unknowingly spend change that could be worth a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too, But here's the part most people miss. The D mint mark on these coins can look slightly misplaced or faint. The lettering might appear doubled, especially on the word Liberty or the date itself. Some coins even reveal subtle copper anomalies, since 1981 was a transition period before the US shifted penny compositions in 1982. That tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people overlook it. Collectors who've seen one in person describe the experience as electric. Imagine a penny glowing in your hand, knowing it holds more power than stacks of $100 bills. The weight feels the same, the color is the same, but its value? Absolutely life-changing. Dealers rush to get their hands on these coins, and bidding wars break out like storms whenever one hits the auction block. Now think about this. How many pennies have you ignored in your lifetime? How many times have you brushed them aside, dropped them in a cup holder, or left them rattling in the bottom of your purse? What if one of those was the 1981 D worth $1.5 million? That thought alone keeps collectors awake at night. But before you run to the bank to cash in every roll, here's how to know if you've found the real deal. First, look for the D mint mark beneath the date. Study it carefully. If it appears slightly off, doubled, or unusually shaped, you may be onto something. Second, examine the coin's overall detail. Sharp, crisp strikes with unusual doubling are signs of rarity. Finally, consider the condition. Uncirculated examples are the ones pulling staggering prices at auction. A clean, well-preserved 1981 D penny with these features could be worth far more than its weight in copper. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't dismiss it. That tiny coin could hold the key to $1 million secret. Somewhere out there, another 1981 D mint mark penny is waiting to be discovered. And the person who finds it? They won't just be lucky. They'll be holding history, value, and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure in the palm of their hand. Check your change. Search your jars. Look twice before you spend that penny. Because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it was discovered, it stunned collectors worldwide. A simple 1979 penny, stamped with a tiny D from the Denver Mint, became the center of a story worth up to $1.6 million. Most people glance at a penny and move on. But this coin? This coin hides a secret that almost nobody notices. One small minting error. One overlooked detail. And that's what makes it worth more than most houses. Imagine that. A penny in your pocket, suddenly turning into a life-changing fortune. The year was 1979. America was in the middle of economic struggle, gas prices were rising, and families were counting every dollar. But in the middle of it all, the US Mint was pressing out billions of pennies. Some were ordinary, but among them, a few rare mistakes slipped through the cracks. Mistakes so subtle, they looked like ordinary coins at first glance. But under the right light, in the right hands, they revealed themselves to be extraordinary. Collectors call them hidden treasures, because that's exactly what they are. And one of the most famous is the 1979 D Lincoln penny. Dealers describe it as a miracle find. Imagine sifting through your change, and there it is, a dull copper coin, no different from the rest. Until you look closer. That's when you see it, the off-strike, the doubling, the imperfections that mark it as one of a kind. And those imperfections are exactly what make it priceless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies, long ignored, was brought to auction. Experts were cautious at first. Some even doubted it could fetch more than a few $100s. But then the bidding began. Voices clashed, prices climbed, and disbelief spread through the room. By the time the hammer dropped, this single penny had shattered expectations, valued at up to $1.6 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on similar coins. Suddenly, the 1979 D penny wasn't just pocket change anymore. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. The answer lies in the tiniest details. The Denver Mint in 1979 struck billions of coins, but a few slipped through with doubled dies and striking flaws. The D mint mark may look slightly misplaced. The date might appear doubled. Lincoln's face could have faint distortions, and the rim may seem thicker on one side. To the untrained eye, it's just wear and tear. But to collectors, those flaws are golden. Here's the twist most people miss: not every 1979 D penny is valuable. In fact, almost all are worth only a cent. The fortune lies only in the flawed ones. That's what makes the hunt so thrilling, and so dangerous. Many collectors pass over these pennies without realizing what they're holding. And that tiny mistake can cost them $1 million. But there's something even more fascinating. Stories keep surfacing of everyday people stumbling across these coins in the most ordinary places. A cashier in Texas, a student in California, a retired veteran in Ohio. Each of them pulled a 1979 D penny from their pocket, only to discover later that it was unlike the rest. Each story spreads like wildfire, fueling the legend of this coin even more. And here's where you come in. If you have old jars of coins, if your dresser drawer is full of loose change, or if you've been holding on to a roll of pennies from decades ago, you might already have one of these hidden treasures. The secret is knowing what to look for. Examine your 1979 pennies closely. Flip them under a magnifying glass. Look at the date. Do you see a doubling of the numbers? Check the mint mark, D. Is it slightly misplaced or unusually struck? Study Lincoln's profile for distortions. And don't forget the edges. Sometimes the clue lies in the rim itself. But what happened to the most recent discovery will blow your mind. A collector submitted his 1979 D penny to grading services. When it came back authenticated as a rare variety, its value skyrocketed overnight. What he once thought was pocket change instantly became a coin worth more than $1 million. Think about that for a second. How many times have you held a penny, shrugged, and tossed it into a jar? What if, without knowing it, you were holding your ticket to $1.6 million? So the next time you hear the clink of change in your pocket, pause for a moment. Don't just ignore it. Because history has shown us time and time again that fortune favors the curious. The 1979 D Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, and possibly your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And here's the final truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's worth nearly $2 million. A simple penny from 1981. No mint mark. No sparkle of gold. Just an ordinary copper coin that most people would walk right past on the sidewalk. And yet, this little disc of metal carries one of the most shocking stories in modern coin collecting. 1981. Ronald Reagan was just stepping into the White House. Gas was a little over $1. And pocket change was the last thing on anyone's mind. But deep inside the minting presses of the United States, something unusual happened. A batch of pennies was struck, and a mistake was made. A small, invisible oversight that no one noticed at first. But decades later, that same mistake would send coin dealers into a frenzy, auction houses into chaos, and one lucky collector into the history books. Now here's the part that blows everyone's mind. The coin doesn't even look that special at first glance. It's a Lincoln Memorial penny. Same design, same copper shine. But if you look closely, there's no mint mark. Not even the tiniest letter beneath the date. That absence is the golden key. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, in 1981, most pennies carried either a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. No mint mark meant Philadelphia. But even then, these coins weren't supposed to slip out in such limited and rare conditions. Some were struck with unusual die errors, others survived in pristine condition against all odds. And because so few examples remain today in such near-perfect states, their value skyrocketed beyond anyone's wildest imagination. One story still gives collectors goosebumps. A man cleaning out his father's old coin jar stumbled on a 1981 penny. At first, he thought nothing of it, just another relic from decades past. But when a local dealer spotted the missing mint mark and the flawless detail, the truth hit him like lightning. That coin eventually made its way to auction. Bidders went wild. The final price? over $1.5 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the twist most people don't see coming. Many 1981 pennies are still out there. Hiding. Buried in coffee cans, tucked away in drawers, sealed in dusty coin albums. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because the demand is overwhelming. Every time one surfaces in top condition, it doesn't just sell, it sets the market on fire. But here's the detail you absolutely cannot miss. The key to this penny's fortune lies in two things: the missing mint mark and its condition. Collectors call it mint state, meaning the coin looks like it just left the press yesterday. No scratches, no wear, no dullness. The cleaner the coin, the higher the value. That's why some 1981 no mint mark pennies in regular circulation are worth only a few dollars. But in flawless condition, the exact same penny can be worth over $1.7 million. Think about that. The difference between pocket change and a life-changing treasure comes down to whether someone tossed the coin in a jar or protected it in a case. That tiny decision is the reason millionaires are being made from what looks like the most ordinary coin in America. And yet there's more. Some experts believe hidden varieties still haven't been discovered. A double-struck die here, a faint error there. These small minting quirks can multiply the value instantly. Collectors know this, and that's why they're searching every single 1981 penny they can get their hands on. The race is on, and the next discovery could break the current record. Here's the checklist. First, check the year, 1981. Second, look just below the date. If there's no mint mark, no D, no S, just a clean number, then you might be holding a hidden fortune. Finally, check the condition. If it looks untouched, glowing, and sharp under a magnifying glass, then you've got something that could send collectors into a bidding war. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old change jar, remember this: the most ordinary looking penny in the world could secretly be worth over $1 million. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.7 million. It's worth nearly $1.8 million. And the shocking part? You could have one sitting in your change jar right now without even realizing it. The year was 1973. Gas was cheap, Nixon was in the White House, and the Lincoln penny was so common that nobody looked at it twice. Billions were made. But hidden among those billions, a few slipped out of the mint that would go on to shake the entire coin-collecting world. A tiny mistake. A missing mark. An overlooked detail that turned an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune. Collectors didn't even realize what was happening at first. For years, these coins passed from hand to hand, buying candy, paying for parking meters, vanishing into piggy banks. But then, one surfaced. It looked just like any other 1973 penny. Until a sharp-eyed collector noticed something strange. Where the mint mark should have been, nothing. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a smooth, blank space under the date. The discovery stunned the coin community. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Collectors whispered about it like it was buried treasure. Could a simple penny from the grocery store really be worth nearly $2 million? The answer was yes. Because this wasn't just a coin. It was a rare accident of history, an error that slipped through the mint's strict quality control and survived 50 years in circulation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, one of these 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies crossed the block. The room fell silent. Hands shot up. The price climbed higher and higher. And when the hammer finally dropped, this penny, this tiny copper coin most people would ignore, was valued at $1.8 million. One man's pocket change had become a miracle, and here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. Most people miss it. They see the date, they flip the coin, and they move on. But the absence of a mint mark is everything. It's what separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth a mansion. Dealers were shocked. Collectors couldn't believe it. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, dumping out a jar of pennies, and realizing that one coin, just one, was enough to pay off your mortgage, buy a new car, and still leave you with money to spare. That's the dream. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The answer lies in the mint itself. In 1973, coins were struck at multiple locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But nearly every coin carried a tiny mint mark to show where it was born. Somehow, a small run slipped out of the presses without this identifying mark. Was it human error? Was it an intentional experiment? No one knows for sure. What we do know is that only a handful exist. And here's the cliffhanger most people don't expect: there could still be more hiding out there. In coffee cans, in old dressers, in collections that have never been searched carefully. That's why collectors are still hunting for them, 50 years later. Because lightning could strike twice. Think about it. Every coin you touch could carry a secret. Every penny you toss aside could be worth $1 million. That's why serious collectors never ignore the details. Start simple. Look at the date, 1973. Then check directly under it. If you see a small D or S, it's a normal penny. But if there's nothing, no mint mark at all, your heart should start racing. That's the sign. That's the clue. That's the treasure hiding in plain sight. But be careful. Many people confuse worn-down coins or faint mint marks with the real deal. A true no mint mark error is crisp, clean, and unmistakable. If you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't scratch it, and definitely don't spend it. Get it certified by a professional grading service immediately. That little coin could change your life. Collectors still talk about the day someone pulled one out of circulation and sold it for over $1 million. They call it the miracle penny. The coin that should have been forgotten, but instead became a legend. And maybe, just maybe, the next one is waiting in your pocket right now. So before you toss that change back into the jar, take a second look. Because history has proven it again and again, the smallest details can hide the biggest fortunes. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.